I don't worry. I tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago. And I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Suave the Model, back with another interview. Today we're here with
Sabrina.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about her career, what she did to get there, and what she can do to help us as a whole. Go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what you do, how you got there, and what advice you can give.
Well, right now, I'm a supervisor over counselors. I have, I think, 38 out of 40 filled right now. In Guam and Hawaii, they're military counselors. Some counsel just the kids, some counsel the soldiers, some counsel the families, but they're all in a military installation. They're in military schools and things like that.
And what in specific is your job that you do?
Well, I'm a therapist. I have an LPC, which means I'm a licensed psychological counselor. Now I have an LPCS, so I'm a supervisor of counselors, but I also am still a counselor, if that makes sense. Right. After so many years, you can go back to get your supervisor status, but you're still always a counselor. And basically, I want to say last week I just started an LLC called Soothing Minds Counseling Services. And so first year, I'm just going to be building it for the most part, but it's going to be my baby. It's my 5-year plan. It's to provide a database of counselors for people no matter where they are. It's going to provide telehealth counseling, which is either phone, video, and or face-to-face, whichever the client prefers. Right. But I want to create a database for that. Truth be told, I probably won't be doing therapy too much longer, right? Because I want to switch to the other side of things. But what got me started and what really got me into counseling itself, like I went to Morgan as a psychology major. I'm like, oh, I want to be a psychologist. Ooh. And then I went to Morgan and I interned at Woodburn Center, which is a residential treatment center for boys. Right. And one of the boys, Gary, I'll never forget Gary, he asked me to go to his treatment team meeting. And in that meeting, it was in a boardroom. It probably was like 3 or 4 doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, his LPC counselor, and myself. And when they started talking to him and about him, it was quite evident that they did not know this kid. Right. And then time and time again, I just kept seeing them talk about kids past and describing and treating them as if the mistakes that they made and the issues that they came across was who they were, and it defined them and made them who they were. Right. So when we would get new kids in, they were like, oh, here's a packet, this kid is coming tomorrow. I would never read it. Right. I would give myself 2 weeks to form my own opinion, but then I would read their file just to know their history and things like that, just to get a deeper connection with them, not to charge them with their past. And because I kept seeing that around me, and here I am, I was like 20 years old, didn't even graduate yet, and I'm like, oh, I can do something to change this in a positive way. Right. And only thing separating me from the people in the boardroom was a few years of schooling. So that sparked my, interest into graduate school. When it comes to psychology, it's an extremely broad field. So when you go to your master's level, you have to kind of narrow it down and know where you want to go. Right. And I mean, it was right on time because I think I was a junior. And so I only had 1 more year of undergrad, so I had to figure out what I wanted to do, and that was the definitive thing for me. Right. But I moved to Texas after I graduated, and I didn't start school right away. The jobs out there weren't that great. It was okay. I worked for Mzcheviusrr, wasn't making any money. So I went to Texas A&M, did a teacher alternative program, and I was a elementary special ed teacher for 3 years because you had to have teaching experience to be a school counselor. So at that point, I'm like, oh, I want to be a school counselor. So I went and I did that for 6 years. It was pretty dope. I was high school. It was amazing to be, that influential into people's lives right before they actually start to transition into adulthood.
Right.
To be honest, to this day, and I've had several jobs. I'm 41, and the high school counselor job, to me, was one of my most important positions I've ever had. Right. I left the school district 2011, and I still have kids that have graduated. They have kids and everything else that still reach out to me. One of my old students, she had a son who was diagnosed with autism. Mm-hmm. And the school district was trying to tell her all these different things, but she didn't really trust very many people. Right. So she reached out to me on Facebook and like, hey, miss, they're saying these things about my son. Can you help me? And it was just like, it just made me feel even better to know that I impacted them. All I was doing was going to work. I had fun. It was actually one of my, I don't even say my most fun job, but it was a very fun job.
Right.
So I didn't know, like, in doing something that I love so much, I can make that big of an impact. But the feedback I get and keep on getting is just quite evident.
So how important do you feel like mental health is? Because I feel like a lot of people, they start a diet, they stop. They say they're going to get counseling, they don't. They have PTSDs and everybody dying right now, the COVID situation. A lot of stuff goes on for military people, high school people, everybody, all these people just being human. Like, how do you control or help maintain a healthy mental state of mind? Because even me, myself, I've had my shares of suicide attempts and stuff like that. So how do you, what advice could you give somebody that's dealing with those type of troubles, and what effect do you have on those people?
Well, it's kind of like my friends. They always be like, oh, they can go to Chi for anything. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's just, I'm just real. you're not gonna come talk to me about a problem and blame everybody else. I'm gonna help you figure out because truth be told, you only have control over yourself.
Right.
And all too often people look at a situation and they'll look at what they can't control and they allow it to overwhelm them. But anyway, counseling is something that always had a stigmatism. People always felt like it meant something was wrong with them, things like that. And it's really not. Right. Counseling is something everybody should go to. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a bad thing to go to. You can go to counseling for a great thing. You have everything in a row and all of that. A counselor is just sometimes to reassure you. A lot of times my job is none other than to make people realize that they're not the only one. Right. A lot of times people don't want to talk about their problems. For example, little Michael, I told him, I said, my circle, we discuss failures. Not too often do people talk about failures. Everybody's post is, oh, I got this. Oh, I got that. Oh, this is happening. Oh, I'm happy. Oh, I'm happy. And the truth be told, happy is just one of very many emotions. It's not a constant state. So nobody is just happy.
Right.
It changes. It's a roller coaster. Emotions. Your emotions are never at a constant state. So that's another bad thing, is that people always think that happiness has like a place. And it's not. It's just like all the other emotions. You feel it, it comes and it goes. You know what I'm saying? But because most of the times when people gather or when they talk about positive things. And so you feel like when you fail at something, it's only you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But not when you get a car, not when you graduate, all these things that automatically happen for everybody. Failures happen just along with it. Nobody's successful, don't know failure. If you're successful, you know failure. You had to have failed several times before you become successful. And I think that all too often people don't hear that. People are just taught and told to just, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to do it with a smile on your face, or, oh, this is just part of the process, or, sometimes everybody's process doesn't go the same way. Right. If you're on a mission to accomplish something, having a therapist along the way is not a bad thing, because unless you're used to talking about your failures to your friends or your family, you need to talk about it to somebody. And a therapist is an easy person to tell your failures to. because you don't know them outside.
Right.
You know, even when I was a counselor on post, I'm in a motorcycle club. I'm at bike night, and this guy's like, "Hey, there go my counselor," and I'm looking around like everybody else. You're not talking about me,
right?
You know, until he legit came up to me, grabbed my arm, brought me to his club, and said, "This is who I was telling y'all about." And when I tell you, about 8 of those guys had contacted me that next week just because he told them that they could trust me. And I mean, they offloaded, you know, and with me doing therapy with military, I do come across a lot of PTSD in every way, shape, or form. A lot of anxiety, a lot of relationship issues. And most of those things boil down to communication, because we are always taught that you're only supposed to tell the great things. Well, life ain't always grand. You know what I'm saying? So every day is not a good day. We all know that, but we all don't talk about it. And so when you gotta suppress everything negative by a certain age, and depending on how many negative things happen to you, that's a lot to hold in. And so at that point, you can't make positive choices because you're holding in so many negative things. And so therapy is just a safe place to let out and talk about your failures and organize those things. And we just kind of make the client feel normal, you know? Because a lot of times, by the time they do decide to get therapy, it's okay, something is definitely wrong. But it doesn't have to be wrong to come. Like, you know, everybody come and just talk about anything. You talk about your friends stressing you out, anything, you know? But...
And I think that's another factor too. Like how important do you feel like family, friends, and just general support can be? Because, you know, me, my friends and stuff like that, you know, there's times when certain decisions that I make or you make might not be approved by your direct family or your friends and those people that you love or you trust. Like you said, trust is a big thing. So how do you feel like that support really affects you as a person? You know what I mean? And along your journey as well, because I'm sure you probably did some things that you didn't get support directly from either.
Well, I don't know. I'm built different. And then everybody is built different, technically. So there's no straight answer to it. But some people need family, friends. Some people need that acceptance. They need that cheerleader. They need that confirmation that they're doing great. I wasn't built like that. Like, if I have something set in my mind, then I'm going to do it. I know it's going to be rough. Just like my 5-year plan with my LLC. Like, I'm ready for whatever's going to come. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of people that's like, oh, you shouldn't do it right now. You know, I only had one person tell me that because I only told 3 people that I was going to do it. A lot of times, sometimes if you open your mouth too soon, you get a lot of negative energy. You know, and a lot of times, most of the people that want to splurt out and tell their plans early are the ones that will be more affected by the people with the negative result. You know what I mean? The negative replies. So it's almost like I would never put it out there to even hear a negative reply directly to me. You can say what you want in the background, but no one's going to directly tell me something negative, because I'm not going to go out there and flaunt it and tell anybody my plans and what I got going on. But I will say that it's very important to have somebody that is kind of like your cheerleader. Now, granted, you can have a big family, you can have a small family. That cheerleader may not be in family. You know what I'm saying? It might be in a friends. Just like they say, you know, sometimes you have family that's not blood. You know, and throughout a lot, you know, I live in Texas and my family is here. I've been in Europe 6 times, Japan twice, Korea, Italy twice, you know, and it's like my family is never there. So I've always been in all these different countries and places alone. And so for me, it doesn't take a lot from anybody else for me to feel, you know, good. You know, right now I'm engaged, and it's like she's my biggest cheerleader, so it feels great to have somebody supporting me, you know. But like I said, I'm 41, and up until 4 years ago, I didn't have a cheerleader. I just had to cheer myself on. You know, me wanting to accomplish the goal that I put in front of myself was all I needed. I don't need nothing from nobody. I don't need nobody else. I'll take that congratulations when I'm done, but because there's so many people that like to throw that negative vibes and energy onto things, I'd rather just keep it to myself and make it work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even if it takes me twice as long because I'm doing it by myself, it's just more satisfying and easier on the mind.
Right.
I don't like bad vibes. I don't like bad energy. None of that.
Right. So how would you say that, you know, going to school for this has changed your vision or impacted your journey to be successful? With like, because you know when you're in middle school, success means one thing, high school success could be another thing, and then college another thing, and then just general life. Like you said, you set your goals for this business that you have, 5-year plan and everything like that. So how did college really help you learn to be yourself? Because
well, to be honest, it wasn't college. It was life.
Right.
And like I said, I went to school for psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist, but life took me on a whole nother road. I ended up being a teacher, a school counselor, all of that before I ever was a therapist.
Right.
And it's like, but being a teacher and a counselor helped me be a better therapist.
Right.
When I interviewed for the school district, it was 2002. I think I was 22, 21, 22. Mm-hmm. And the lady asked me why I wanted to be a teacher. I said, because I'm in grad school to be a school counselor and I need 3 years of teaching. So I don't want to sit on my degree when I finish. She said, I'm going to stop the tape. I'm going to give you some advice and I'm going to ask you the question again because it was recorded.
Right.
So I said, okay, it was a phone interview. She stopped the tape. She said, love what you're doing while you're doing it. I said, okay. She asked me the question again, and I was like, well, being a teacher is going to better prepare me to be a counselor.
Right.
But at that point, being young and dumb, that lady made me realize that I had to enjoy the journey that I was on. And so, now mind you, I just left Mzcheviusrr, which is mental health, mental retardation for kids. I worked in children's mental health. Them 6 months at that job, I took nothing from it. Nothing. And it wasn't until I spoke to that lady, it was August of 2002. Mm-hmm. And she gave me that little bit of advice. And I'm telling you, I was an amazing teacher. I looked at things differently. I had 2 classroom aides. And we were a dynamic team. And the same thing with the school counselor job. Like everything that I started to do, I just tried to get the most out of it because this woman told me to. And it just made sense. And then it also made me realize my purpose. It made me realize a whole lot of things. That one little bit of advice. And then it just made everything connect. And I was talking to someone the other day. And I was talking about how all these things that I've inadvertently have done up until now, they all connect. You know what I'm saying? It's my life, it's my experience, but it's all counseling, but it's in different countries, different populations, different everything, but it's all building up for me for this very moment for my business. Like, it's so dope. But when I was going through it, I was just like, oh, well, this is what I got to do. This, oh, I like what I'm doing. Oh, I want to do this. And it was just like I was getting through it, and it wasn't until not too long ago I sat down and really looked at all that I accomplished and how it all tied together. And it's quite amazing how life just happens that way. And it's not school that made it happen. It's just experiences that I've actually paid attention to, or I've cried a lot, went through a lot, stressed a lot, but it all adds up. You know, it's life. Life is not predictable by far.
Right, and I think I'm learning that too. And I've called you a couple times, you know, talked to my family a couple times about, you know, finding what it is that I want to do. And you've told me that as well. You know, don't try to make this person happy or that person happy, regardless of their connection to you, whether friends, family. Be happy for, you know, who you are.
You got one life to live, and it's yours.
Right. And I think a big quote that I'm big on is, you know, you'll never work a day in your life when you do what you love. Like, you know, don't look at it as work. Look at it as, this is, like I said, another experience, another opportunity to be better, to be that person that I've envisioned in my mind to be, because nobody can see that. You know what I mean? You can talk about it all day, but nobody has that passion or that love that you have to be that person, because that's you.
Right.
You know, so I think that's very important. So let's talk a little bit more about the business that you've created and what was the process like, and what was like this is what I want to do.
Well, like I said, I'm on a supervisor side of counseling now, and so it's a totally different thing. You know, I have to basically baby some counselors and walk them through certain things, but at the same time, the whole admin side of it and growing people it just sparked another interest in me.
Right.
You know, so for me to get that job and then it bring up this whole little thing in me, and I started to and right now I have counselors that can only provide telehealth because of COVID.
Right.
And so I'm like, wow. And then so now it's a huge platform for online counseling. Before it was never an online counseling platform. And so now with COVID, and that people actually definitely need therapy because being in a house all day, or, you know, losing your job, or losing a family member to this COVID thing, or there's all kinds of things that, you know, and then this is the holidays. This is one of the most stressful times of the year without COVID.
Right.
And so I just wanted to be able to reach out to as many people as I could possibly, you know, and in order to do so, I wanted to get on the telehealth train. You know what I'm saying? I want to provide it for those who can't do the face-to-face, or people who are more comfortable with just being on the phone and not having no kind of visual part to getting help. Some people might think they just talking to somebody on the phone. I don't care how you mentally put it to yourself to accept it.
Right.
Just call it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I can almost guarantee you, anybody that does therapy, like, it's enlightening to them. You know what I'm saying? We are, like you said, is you are your own person, and you spend all your little extra time with yourself, with your thoughts. Your own thoughts sometimes can be your biggest enemy. You know what I'm saying? The idle mind is the devil's playground. And so if your mind isn't clear, when you have that idle time, which we all have, you know, certain things can come up, you know, and so therapy can help you sort out and organize some of these things, because almost everybody can name a few things that they either don't like, or that have affected them negatively, or that they think is the cause of some type of negative behavior that they have.
Right.
And so you just start with whatever they think it is, and then you just take that and start peeling it and peeling it and peeling it. Because truth be told, the first thing they're gonna say is what they're comfortable with saying, and what they bottled up to accept for themselves. So it's okay. Give me what you've accepted yourself, and then let me help you get to what you suppressed and just try to ignore.
And that comes with that trust, like you said. You know, that trust, being able to trust you and share certain information that you probably wouldn't share with your friend or your family, because you see them on a daily basis. You don't want to be judged. You just want to just let it out.
You just need to get it out.
Right.
Not just want.
Yeah.
Need to. And a lot of times that's what pushes people to counseling, is that they end up not being able to handle it. Right. A lot of times it's a thing called defense mechanisms, and it's our body's natural reaction to any kind of discrepancy. So, for example, if I don't like someone yelling at me, then I'm not going to be around somebody who yells a lot. That's my defense mechanism. I'm going to protect myself from this situation because I know how I react, or I know how it makes me feel.
Right.
You know, things like that. And so I just feel like, I don't know, everybody just needs to find some type of way to get out the things that they suppress. You know, if you feel like your mind's not connecting, your thoughts are disconnected, or if you feel like, you know, you're not happy, you're not incomplete, or you just feel like you're lacking something, or it's just you feel a little off, then call a counselor.
Right. And as far as like your journey and you know, like I said, I know you went to college, you did your thing there, and then you took some time off, went back. But how was it? I know you know, obviously my dad and you know, your brother and stuff. But how was it growing up in your neighborhood? The good times, the bad times. I'm sure you've had a lot of fights. You had a lot of mental problems going on in your head. based on what you've seen growing up. So how did you deal with your own problems? Because talking to multiple people, like you said, multiple people daily, helping them with their problems, how did you deal with your own? You know, did you go to counseling? Did you just learn to help yourself, or?
Well, first of all, as far as my upbringing, when I went to college, when I was an undergrad, that's what helped me understand my family.
Right.
It made me understand my upbringing. It made me understand my father, my mother, my siblings, my environment, my grandparents. It made me understand everybody. Right. You know, so when you kind of understand it on the outside and not personalizing what they've done and how you feel, right, it makes you look at them differently. Right. So instead of me being like, oh, I'm mad because they did it, like they, you know, this happened to me as a kid, right, it was more so of, oh, you know, my father had these issues or whatever, and they were just doing the best that they knew how. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's kind of like when you understand it from that perspective, then you can't personalize it and make it a negative thought.
Right.
As far as everybody else in counseling goes, like I said, I got a really good circles, 4 of us. And like I said, we talk about failures, we talk about successes. Matter of fact, one of those 3 helped me with my LLC. He did his first. He's like, hey man, he's emailed it, he's texted to me and was like, this is the link. You've been talking about your counseling thing for a while, you know, I just want to make sure you got it to do it. And I actually filled out that thing. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was just up and I was in my little smoke room.
Right. And
I just pulled it up. I started filling it out, and the name that I came up with was still available. I came up with Soothing Minds 2.5 years ago, maybe 3, and I didn't do it.
Right.
It was available because I looked up the name. It was available. I didn't do it, and that night I said, well, if it's available, I'm gonna do it, and that's why I ended up going through, because it was still available, and so I went ahead and I did it.
That's a true blessing, man, because, you know, like I'm sure you probably, like, the moments before, I've had moments where I'm like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then it happened, you're like, dang, I didn't even think it was going to happen that fast. I didn't know it was like, yeah, you know what I mean? So that's a good feeling. And I'm so happy it went through, because, like you said, you had that vision in your mind, and that's your first thought. That's your first name that you came up with. And it's like, once you get that in your mind, you're like, this is how it's got to be.
Yeah, and then and it was almost like a confirmation that this is what I'm supposed to do. This is for me.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like, I love it. But outside of that little circle, when it comes to counseling, counselors have support systems.
Right.
I have about 8 different counselors. Like, we're all therapists.
Right.
And so we bounce things off of each other, things like that. I know with my counselors, we have a Vonage Zoom meeting every Tuesday. Right. And so that's when they get to vent and talk about things. You know, some of them have experienced a few suicides lately, and things like that. But that's the call where, you know, it's I don't want to say unprofessional or whatever, but it's just really the time to unleash whatever you got or whatever. And then I have a couple of them in my phone that whenever I feel like I need to vent, and the same thing. It's like a little counselor bonding thing, because you can't talk to non-therapists about some of the things that you hear about in therapy. Only times I bring it up is if it's something that I want my circle or my friends or those that I'm talking to also understand that it's normal.
Right.
You know, so it's things like that. It's certain things that I hear from my clients that I'll end up hearing from my friends.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, like, no, girl, don't even worry about that. Or no, sir, it doesn't work that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? But just for them to understand or know that when they tell me, it's not the first time I heard it. Like, I've sat there and watched somebody tell me something that was completely shocking.
Right.
But when he told me, you would have thought that it was the 100th time I've heard it.
Right.
And so when you tell somebody something that you done, worked up to get out, and they just normalize it suddenly just calms you down. And so, and I've had a couple clients that try to tell me some shit that just, I guess they thought it was gonna throw me off my rockers or something, but like I said, I'm just
heard it all.
Yeah.
Just about, so you know how to deal with it better. And I think, that's another thing too. How long do you feel like it really took you to get to this level where you're no longer stressed about how to deal with certain situations? I mean, I'm sure there's still certain situations where you're like, all right, now how am I going to deal with this? But for the most part, like, what got you that confidence to be like, yo, this is what I do. Like, this is really this is what I'm known for. Like, the recommendations and stuff.
Well, when I was at high school counselor. I looked like I was a student.
Right.
And so they would always say, why is she giving out orders or whatever? Isn't she a student? It was a parent. I'll never forget. It was the second year I worked there. She's like, why she giving out orders? Isn't she a student? And I walked by, I turned around, I said, no ma'am, I'm not. I'm a counselor. Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever. And then it was later that year. No, it was the next year. We were giving out schedules. Mm-hmm. And that same lady was like, oh, they go Miss Dykes. That's my bitch. That's my bitch. And I was like, what? And then she was like, you graduated my son last year. And she had another son that wasn't in my alphabet. Mm-hmm. She waited an extra hour until I finished my people and asked her son's counselor if she can come to me because I helped her with her other kid. And so it's kind of like things like that. And then, like I said, I was young.
Right.
And all these older people was coming for advice and therapy and all these types of things. And they were constantly thanking me and telling me how I just simplified things for them and all of that. And then, I don't know, just the feedback for the most part. The feedback just made me feel like it was extra rewarding, and it made me feel like it was my calling. It's what I was supposed to do. And so once you feel like you in your calling and you doing what you was put on this earth to do, all the confidence and everything it comes with it. You know what I'm saying? If you remain prayed up, God gonna bless you, and it's gonna be evident. Like it just became clearer.
Right. Because
it's been foggy for decades. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I went to college because I was scared.
Right.
Like, all the way up until senior year, you only had 2 months off of school, and then you went right back. So at high school, it was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do after these 2 months? Right. I don't know. I gotta do something. So that senior year, that's all I can think of was, man, I don't have 2 months off and I come back. Like, you got a plan from here on out. So after that, it was a wrap. I went to school, and that was it. I just kept planning. Now all my plans didn't go together. I didn't succeed in everything I planned, but I had to plan something, because you can't just get up and just live every day however. Right. You still got to have some sort of a plan, even if you not going to accomplish it to the fullest, and that's also helped me a lot. I have a tablet that says it's like a pad, and it's called Things to Do, and has the date and all these little blocks. And I'll write the date every morning. I'll write down the things I'm supposed to do. And then I'll check them off throughout the day. Like, that feels good. I'm accomplishing these things. And then at the end of the day, whatever's left, that's what get added to the next day. So I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not about to stress myself. I do what I got. I look at the list and be like, all right, I'll pick the things off the list I'm going to do next. I know what I can push over or whatever. It's just organization and things like that. It just makes it so much better, and my day completely flows.
Right. So what advice could you give someone who, might want counseling or want help mentally, but, might not be financially stable at this point? Because a lot of people right now, like you said, they're losing jobs, having hard times finding employment. There's some people that want to work but can't work, people that have degrees but can't use them. It's just a lot. The world is in, one of the most craziest times that, younger crowds have been in, young, old, everybody's going through it. So what advice could you give those people right now that are looking for help but are having trouble finding it, and, things like
Well,
that?
I would say if you have no health insurance, to try to get at least Medicaid, Medicare, something like that. All therapists, well, not all, most are on the insurance board for Medicaid, Medicare. I know I'm on Medicaid, Medicare, TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield,
Right.
all of that.
Right.
So when you do private practice or go into therapy, you have to get on the insurance board or take cash paying clients. And to just take clients who can pay in cash, to me that defeats my purpose,
Right.
I guess. I have a friend who only takes cash paying clients, and she charges $100 and something an hour.
Right.
She has a lot of money, but she's also burnt out, because when people pay that much money, you better be there for them. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like she's burnt out.
Right.
But if you don't have insurance, try to get Medicaid, Medicare. If not, try and call. There's some people that will do pro bono. There's some that would also have interns. Like right now, like with me being an LPCS, I could have interns under me. When you
Right.
pass the test, well, once you get your master's, then you qualify to take the test. If you pass the test, you have to be supervised for 3,000 hours.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so there's a lot of LPC interns out there who cannot charge for therapy. But they're underneath a therapist.
Right.
So a lot of times you could, if you call a psychologist or a therapy office, ask them if they have an intern, then more than likely you could probably get some free service from an intern.
Right.
If not, I would highly suggest Googling online counseling, there's one called BetterHelp. Things like that. It's like a flat rate of like $40 or something like that, and they'll connect you with a counselor that way. Anybody that's nervous, like I said, this online counseling is the move.
Right.
You get like I said, either call on the phone. You could do the whole. They have a HIPAA compliant, because they have to be compliant with the government laws and things like that. But they have an actual teleconferencing also, and so it's just so many different forms instead of going into an office. Some people don't want to go in the office. Some people got illnesses and don't want to go to the doctor because they don't want to go in the building.
Right.
And so with you being able to get counseling from the comfort of your own home, I think it increases the chances of people to actually try and get some.
Right.
But with no insurance, it would be kind of hard, but not impossible.
Right.
Not impossible.
Okay. So for those who watch this video, we appreciate that. What advice could you give anyone who's looking to go down the same, I guess, not same path, but the same type of journey to get to the same field of work that you're in right now? And what advice could you give them and anybody else looking to either go to college or pursue a dream that they didn't expect to be doing when they were younger?
Only thing I can say is live your life to the fullest. And just understand that it's a roller coaster ride, and that just what you plan and what you envision, sometimes it don't happen that way. But whatever detour your life takes, that's what it's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? I am a controlling person. I want to control everything. And it took a lot out of me to just let life go, to just ride the wave.
Right.
That's my next tattoo, because grandma told me that.
Right.
Ride the wave. I was very overwhelmed, stressed out, and I'll tell you, before I call some of them counselor friends, I'll call grandma.
Right.
And I had called grandma, and she was like, "Hey, Sabrina, I tell you what you do. You ride the wave. That's it. You just sit down, relax, just ride the wave until you get over whatever emotions, whatever got you off your norm, whatever, ride that wave. Don't make no decisions. Don't do nothing extra. Just ride the wave until you feel back 100. And that was one of the best pieces of advice I've ever had as an adult. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody always think they can tell you how to fix something or tell you what you did wrong.
I would do this in that situation.
Yeah, and it wasn't nothing like that. It was ride that wave. You in a wave. You gotta ride that out.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you nothing to soothe your mind. I can't do nothing for you, but just tell you to ride that wave. But anything that anybody wants to do. For example, my sister. She didn't go to college after high school. She went to college when she got into a job that directly showed her that she needed a degree to move up.
Right.
So she got her bachelor's, got her job that required it.
Right.
Then she saw something else she wanted, had another goal in mind that required a master's. Then she went and got her master's. So everybody is different. She didn't see the direct correlation at first, so she wasn't getting it. She didn't do it. So you have a lot of people like that. I'm not going to college. That's a waste of money. People get out of college and they still don't have a job. Okay, well, don't. Like, nobody has to, and it's okay. You know, like, even as a high school counselor, I just tell some of my kids, looking at this GPA, college is not on your list of things that you need to do.
Right.
You know, or maybe you got to start at a JUCO, or some kids were just better off going into the military. Some of them were better off, you know, picking up a trade, just different things. College is not for everybody. At my age, I have a lot of friends who do not have college degrees who do have a lot of money, six figures and above. So you don't have to have a degree to earn a living. You know, back in the day, it used to be the main thing to push you forward, but it's not the only way to succeed in life. Right. Now, it does open up doors and things like that depending on what type of career field you want to go into. Absolutely, it does help, but it's not absolutely required. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, especially for young kids, when I used to tell my kids when I was a school counselor, when I would talk to the 8th graders coming into the high school, I say, hey, those of y'all who want to go to college, the GPA starts 9th grade. Right. Not in 11th grade when you're like, oh, I want to go to A&M. Well, yeah, your GPA says no. You know, it doesn't start when you apply. Your GPA starts in the 9th grade when you're not even thinking about college, which, you know, whatever. Right. But any avenue people want to take, you know, as long as you're not breaking the law, disrespecting your family, then and you get some type of job to take care of your basic needs, and that's it. You know, just do what makes you happy. You have one life to live and it's yours. You have a lot of people that want to give their input and say what happened to them. Guess how come they know? Because they lived it and they did it. They made that choice. Right. You get to make your own. Thanks for the advice. I'm not saying don't take heed and don't take advice from people who've been there and done that, you know, but for someone to try to stop you completely from doing something you want to do, I feel like that's unnecessary. You can advise, like, okay, well, be careful, or if you're about to do something that I don't know, I might be worried about, I'll tell you why I'm worried, the things, and then you could probably say, well, I got that taken care of. That's better than saying, don't do that, that's stupid. Right. That doesn't make sense. You're not helping, you're only hindering. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people with bad vibes in this world. You know, and a lot of people call them mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, best friend, you know, stuff like that. It's a lot of people that don't want to see you succeed in life. You know what I mean? And as long as, like you say, that what you got a vision for yourself and you got a plan to get it done and make sure your basic needs are taken care of, then don't even worry about the negative sayers, you know, because that'll be the same people that'll be like, good job when you do it. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I can almost guarantee you, for everybody that's counting on your downfall, it's one or two that's supporting you. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's just all too often we yearn the opinions of the ones that's negative. You know what I'm saying? Right. We want them to have the same ideals that everybody else has about us, because of their title or because of the importance we give them. But it's okay if they don't. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's your life, man. You gotta keep it pushing and do what's best for you. Right. Okay.
So how can everybody who wants to maybe get in contact with you or follow your journey and stay in tune with Soothing Minds, like you said, your company, how would they, you know, follow that journey or stay in contact with you? You have a business email or a business page that you would like to share?
Oh, right now, no. Because I'm waiting to get Soothing Minds on all the insurance boards. Okay. Like, I am as Sabrina, but my business is not. Like, I started the process, but it takes like 8 weeks to get on Medicaid. than all those other things. And so, like I said, I just filed it 3 weeks ago.
Right, okay.
So once I do all of that, then I'll be able to put it all out. But right now, I'm just Mzcheviusrr on Instagram.
Well, I definitely hope to get a part 2. You know what I mean? Every day is another blessing, another opportunity. Definitely stay tuned because there will be a part 2. We'll definitely have a little celebration of your company, Soothing Minds, and we'll see how that's going for you when that time comes. I appreciate this talk. I love you so much. Regardless of family, I appreciate you supporting me because it's, like I said, friends, families who don't help me out with this opportunity to interview them and share this positive image to the rest of the world. For those who don't know, just tuning into this channel or watching this video because you know her, definitely stay tuned for my channel because what I'm trying to do with this is give a positive image to the children who are lost or don't have that support system because, like she said, you don't really know where your journey is gonna go, where your path is because something you want to do today might not be there tomorrow. And just take it step by step and plan your day out. You might not achieve everything on that list, but at least you achieve something, even if it's just to wake up and see another day. Check that off your list. And just be blessed. So thank you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And please remember to live every day like it should last.
Absolutely.
Because no day is ever promised. Thank you so much and enjoy your day. Peace. All right, that was good.
Boy, drop down.